Miami Heat have finally got the news they've been waiting for. I am Nic Rohloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. And Bam Adebayo is showing major progress in terms of his three-point shooting. And that is the news that the Heat have been waiting for as an organization, but also as a fan base. Because as we've noted here at the channel, Bam Adebayo improving his three-point shot unlocks a different type of Heat offense. And make sure you are subscribed, by the way, because the Heat season begins in about 2 weeks when they host the Orlando Magic on October 23rd. Be subscribed because we are going to break down everything throughout the season, as well as be live for as many games as possible, so lock us in. As I said, the news that the Heat have been waiting for and the fans have been waiting for is the progression of Bam Adebayo's three-point shooting. And it's been something that we've talked about over and over again as he's developed that mid-range shot. And you're like, well, you know what? Bam actually looks pretty good shooting 10 to 15 footers and deep twos. Why doesn't he just take it to 25 feet and start taking some three-point shots to really open up the offense? And I think Bam Adebayo heard that and started to incorporate that into his game and his training in the offseason. And we've seen him start to do it a little bit at the end of last season. That's when we first saw Bam's three-point shot really come to the surface. He didn't do it that much. His numbers were very limited. As you can see on screen right now, his three-point shooting numbers were not high. The volume was low. He had a lot of success from the right side of the court, but most of his threes did come from the top of the key when we looked at his shot chart. But the reason why it's so important that Adebayo is starting to incorporate a three-point shot is because it spaces out the floor for the Heat offense, which desperately needs to be able to attack the rim more, and you're just able to be more efficient in to do that more if there's not a 7-footer clogging the paint and defending the rim at a very high level. And Adebayo potentially stepping out will do that to opposing defenses. And we saw in the first preseason game from Miami that he is willing to take a lot of threes. Now, maybe this was just the first preseason game, so he wanted to get it on tape and really make a point of it for opposing teams. But I do think there's something to his shots coming more than 50% from the three-point arc. Now, by no means do I want that to be something throughout the season. Like if Bam shoots 20 shots a game, he should not be shooting 10 threes a game. That should not be the case whatsoever. But when you only play this amount of minutes and you're really trying to work on the flow of the offense, I don't hate him really focusing on his three-point shot. He went 2 of 5, 40%. If he were to shoot 40% from three this year, I legitimately think the Miami Heat would win the championship. But let's talk about what it does, not only for Bam, but for the entire offense, because the spacing this creates for Miami is out of this world and is what can make this Heat's ceiling as a team so much higher. Right now, I think the ceiling is a second-round exit. But if Bam Adebayo shoots 38% from three on decent volume and spaces out opposing defenses, allowing Jimmy, Terry, Tyler, and others to attack the rim and be more efficient in the restricted area, which has been an issue, well, then the ceiling becomes, why can't this team win an NBA title? If their offense improves into the top 15, top 10 in the NBA, we know they're going to have a top-half defense with the best coach in basketball and some killers on your team and Jimmy and Bam and others. Well, then you really start to talk about the possibility of this team being really, really dangerous. And I think the ability that he will provide is huge, but let's be honest here as well, as we brought up the preseason. The shot, and if you watch the highlights, watch the game, and I really caution you to do so when you're watching this as well to make sure you have the full story. The shot is so much more smooth, and he's shooting them with no hesitation. Like last year, some of his three-point shots, he'd catch it, he'd sit, look to pass, and then be like, oh, they're leaving me wide open. I guess I'll shoot a three. And that was at the end of the year. Now he's catching it and in rhythm going right up with it. Will only help him as a shooter be more consistent getting into his rhythm, but also if he's just doing it off the catch, it will make defenses press up on him more often and not give him any space, which will allow the defense to be more stretched out and there to be more space in the interior for other people. You see what I'm going here? There is just constant evolution of this offense, which allows Miami to get better and better on that end. Are you fired up? Because I am fired up about Bam Adebayo's impressive, growth in terms of his three-point shooting. Spam bam! Didn't do that on purpose if you are fired up for the season to begin, but not only Bam Adebayo's progression as a three-point shooter. And we've often talked about here at the channel about how the Heat have really struggled in the restricted area. And specifically, when you look at last season, it was very bad for probably the top 5 players on this team outside of Bam Adebayo. And when you take away centers, who are obviously going to have a high restricted area percentage because that's where the predominant of their shots come from. But look at this. Look at the bottom first. League average is 59.9% last season in the restricted area. The Heat's top 5 players all are below league average. Jimmy by 2%, Terry by 6%, Herro by 9%, one of the worst finishers at the rim last season. Jaime just about league average, 1% below, and then Nikola 4% below league average. So your top 5 guys, arguably your starting lineup, outside of Bam obviously, were all very bad in terms of shooting at the restricted area. They were below league average by quite a bit. And now if Bam Adebayo is able to space the floor, force opposing centers to guard him at the perimeter, those numbers are going to go up every single time. But also, if the center does help over on the driving players of Miami, kick it out, swing pass, open catch and shoot three-point shot, the offense will just be more better. And I'll guarantee this, by the way. Take a look at these numbers one more time, because I'm willing to bet, and you could clip this right now, that if we come back to this video in 7 months when the season is over, I would be willing to bet, I'm being dead serious, that every single player that we just showed shot better from the restricted area this upcoming season than those numbers showed from last season. Because one, I think they're going to improve in that area as a team because it's an emphasis, but also because of the spacing that Bam Adebayo provides now with being a three-point threat. Everything is going to be a lot more easier at the rim for Miami, and it should make Heat fans very excited for the offense this upcoming season. But you should also be excited to get started with PrizePicks because they are the #1 daily fantasy sports platform in North America. I play them on a daily basis, whether it be during the football season or during basketball season starting up here in just a second. And you can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. You think Justin Jefferson will get more than 83.5 yards? You think your favorite team will ball out? It doesn't really matter. Cook up your hot takes with friends and win real money this football season as well as basketball season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. And y'all know that I make picks every single day and every single week, and you can do season long, you can do weekly, daily, doesn't matter. My season long projection in the basketball world is this: more than 9.9 rebounds per game for Bam Adebayo, more than 6.8 assists per game for Jalen Brunson, and then less than 10.2 points per game for the #1 overall pick, Zachary Risachet. You can really go any type of way with PrizePicks, which makes it the most fun. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to get the $50. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, the absolute best. Run your game with PrizePicks. Couldn't be more of a fan of them. Appreciate them. The link is in the live chat, or excuse me, the description and comments of today's video. All right, as we move on here, let's look at what the Heat did offensively last season in 23-24, because it was not pretty offensively for Miami. Points per game, 110.1. It came into 26th in the National Basketball Association. The fact that Miami was able to even make the postseason with having a bottom 5 offense in basketball is just a credit to their coaching staff, honestly, and credit to their defense. More on the defense because the coaching staff certainly can get better at getting open looks for Miami. But in field goal percentage, 22nd. Three-point percentage was their saving grace. They were actually 12th in the NBA, shooting 37%. You can thank Jimmy Butler shooting 41% and Duncan Robinson's resurgence for that as well. The offensive rating is 21st, and the effective field goal percentage was 20th. So when you just look at these numbers and take away the three-point percentage, which saved them, because if they weren't a top half team in basketball in terms of three-point percentage, they'd probably have been the worst offense in basketball. These numbers just simply have to improve. There's no ifs, there's no buts about it. They have to get better offensively. It's what has held this team back from getting over the hump and winning an NBA championship. They've always had an NBA championship type defense. They're always in the top 10, top half. They lock down on their opponents in the big moments. They're schemed up perfectly thanks to Eric Spoelstra and company. But for them to beat the top teams in the NBA and for them to be the top team in the Eastern Conference again for the third time in the last 6 years, they are going to need to have a much better offense. There's absolutely no questions about it. And to end today's show, I want to go back to Bam Adebayo here because some of you may ask, well, we talked about Bam's three-point shooting and his spacing in the preseason game and how different the offensive looked. Well, this was Bam's shot chart. He took 9 shots, right? Well, where did they come from? One of them came in the restricted area. 2 of them came in the little floater mid-range paint, but not in the restricted area. 2 of 2. He missed his one mid-range jumper he took. And then this is where the three-pointers come into play. And this is the part that's so intriguing. We looked at his shot chart from 3 earlier in the episode. He shot most of his threes from the top of the key. And I think it's growth for Bam for him to be able to space in the corners. 3 of his shots came from the corners. Now, you want 1 of 3 and went 1 of 2 above the break. But still, the fact that he's willing to catch and shoot more shots from the corner from beyond the arc is very, very good. And it should be very optimistic for you in terms of how this team grows. And I will say this, I don't want to overreact. It's one preseason game. Who knows if this is going to stick and maybe Bam shoots 1 or 2 threes a game in the regular season. I don't know. Hopefully that's not the case, but if that shot chart from Bam stays true, I am going to be very excited about the way he's able to attack opposing defenses as a personal player the rest of the way. Now, I will say this and play devil's advocate here on my own self, is that you can't fall in love with the threes. Like I mentioned, he took 9 shots yesterday or 2 days ago, and 5 of them were from 3. That's probably not the percentages I'd like to see because Bam is still excellent in keeping his defenders off balance, pulling up in the mid-range, getting to the rim, finishing in rim running and lob opportunities. Like I don't want him to overcompensate and love the three-point shot so much. That's where he stands on offense most of the time. No, he needs to still be in the pick and roll, dive to the rim. It's just that when he's off ball, not setting those screen actions, then maybe that's when he fades out to the three-point arc and is able to knock down some shots from deep if the ball finds him at the end of the possession, or if the defense just funnels it into him and he's able to knock it down. Just can't fall in love with it and become only a three-point shooter because that's not what makes Bam great offensively. But predict it for me. Guessing game. Over or under 35.5% from 3 for Bam Adebayo. Type O if you think it's going to go over. Type U if you think it's going to go under. It's the magic question on today's show. Will Bam shoot more or less than 35.5% from 3? To round out today's video, I do want to make this point. The Bam three-point improvement is actually more important to other players and the team than it is actually to Bam Adebayo. Now, I have said that this is a career-altering thing for Bam to where he could now become an All-NBA first-team guy, All-NBA second-team guy. If he's averaging 25 points and 10 boards a game, do an improved tick in three-point shooting because of how good he is defensively as well. But the idea of the Bam three-point shot is more or less stretching the defense, taking a rim-protecting center away from the rim, and allowing Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, and Terry to get to the rim and finish more efficiently because there's no rim protector there. And if they do shift over, you can swing it open and get a open catch-and-shoot 3 for a different player like Terry or Nikola Jovic or something like that. So the fact that Bam can space the floor now is more helpful to the rest of the team than it is actually for Bam Adebayo's game. So I am very excited for this, and you should be too. All right, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we are going to have daily content here at the Heat Report, as well as watch parties when the season returns. We're going to be live for 2 games next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. Watch parties. Lock us in for that and be subscribed because we're not going anywhere.